Conversation for the Ohio Valley continues shortly, here on the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
The celebration begins Friday, August 13th at Wheeling's Heritage Port with live music. Celebrate 20 years of the Heritage Music Blues Fest. This year's Blues Fest features blues superstars Ronnie Earl and the Broadcasters, 2021 Traditional Blues Grammy winner Bobby Rush, the rock and blues of Indigenous and Anna Popovich, and up-and-coming blues superstars Davey Knowles and Hannah Wickland, and many more. Heritage Music Blues Fest, Friday, August 13th through Sunday, August 15th. Tickets and info at heritagemusicfest.com.
Oh, there's something so real about living local, and I know without a doubt I'm not alone. And I love living local. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. Said I'm loving living local. WTRF is working for me. The Ohio Valley is where I love to be.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the Watchdog trusts.
Have you ever thought about having a podiatric physician examine your feet? Doctors of Podiatric Medicine set broken bones, perform wound care, and remove bunions. Common health issues that they treat include ingrown or fungal nails, corns, warts, and skin problems like athlete's foot. Foot exams are easy and can prevent many problems. If you can't walk, work, or enjoy sports activities without pain, what are you waiting for? To find a podiatric physician who is a member of the Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association, visit associationsadvanceohio.com.
As the world gets back on track, now's the time to look forward and make bold, life-changing decisions. If you're ready to complete your college degree or pursue your master's like an MBA, Ohio Dominican University offers a range of innovative programs that match your goals. And with both fully online and on-campus evening formats available, pursuing your degree at ODU also fits your life. Classes are forming now. Get started at ohiodominican.edu. That's ohiodominican.edu.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Hello everyone, from the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker, Darnell Foster, with a look at your local weather forecast for your Tuesday. Mix of sun and clouds with a scattered shower of thunderstorms possible. A daytime high of 87. Showers potential through the evening and the overnight, otherwise partly cloudy. Temperatures down to 74 for the low. A mix of sun and clouds for your Wednesday. Chance of a late day shower or storm. Highs near 87 degrees. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
Informing and entertaining the Valley for over 25 years. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe in the 100 Days of Summer.
Temperature just inching up a little bit, 73, and it's storming at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. 73, and I can't see out my window here, so I don't know. The door's closed, so I don't know what it's doing here at the home studios, but I do know it's 73 degrees, and 73 at the Robinson Auto Group Studios downtown Wheeling in the heart of the Ohio Valley. We are looking for some scattered showers during the morning hours, maybe isolated thunderstorms, could be a little bit severe at some point during this afternoon, but it'll be mixed in with some sunshine as well. It's going to be a hot, muggy day, daytime high. Again, pushing 90, going to call it officially 87, according to Zach over at the Big 7. What have we been talking about so far today? COVID cases, hospitalizations, deaths, all dramatically higher now than they were the same time last year. But a clearly concerned Governor Justice still feels no need to put in any mask mandates or school policy revisions at a state level. It's time to start our back to school talk. Coming up next hour, Albert Lawrence, who's a tech correspondent for one of the CBS shows, will look at how to keep your students safe in the digital world, also how to get some new high-tech apps and some new high-tech technology, things that are going to be hot and in demand this year. We'll talk even about some college savings plans. Back to school conversation gets underway in the next hour of the show. We talked last hour with Delegate Evan Henson from West Virginia. He's from Mon County. He is, in his day life, a environmental and economic consultant. I'm continuing to talk about Governor Justice's pro-coal appointments to energy oversight agencies. Last week, he appointed the now retired head of the Washington Coal Association, Bill Rainey, to sit on the Public Service Commission. The PSC just last week extended the lifetime of the Mitchell Power Plant, specifically saying we want to make sure we can burn coal longer. The governor this weekend also reauthorized the Public Energy Authority, which has been dormant for the last 10 years. He put the current head of the Coal Association as a key member of that panel. And I take note that all of this has to do, all of these appointments come from a governor who is a coal operator and who is in hundreds of millions of financial trouble. And whose attorney has said the way they hope to get out of it is by increasing the coal business. And I raise the question, is all of this activity of pointing pro-coal people to state agencies that oversee the coal business a way to help his private business? Now, not all of you think that I'm on the right track, and that certainly is okay. I got a text here in the last hour. Howard, this whole coal lobbying agenda with this board or that commission is weird. You're trying to make a story out of this, and no one is biting on the radio or social media. Can't get a like on Facebook or Twitter. The guy you interviewed today wasn't sure it's a conflict of interest. I don't know what your agenda is, but it's just something your audience doesn't understand or care about. And that last sentence, I probably would agree, doesn't understand or care about. And I could be wrong. I always say the governor, I truly believe, cares for the state. And it's not unusual if someone is a coal operator that he or she would then want to see the coal industry succeed. But we have a governor who used to be a billionaire and is heading towards bankruptcy. We have a governor who has $300 million of loans coming due, personally guaranteed by he and his wife. We have a governor whose flagship property, the Greenbrier, is under IRS liens. Much of it is. We have a governor who's got major financial problems and who has said he wants to get out of it by seeing the coal industry improve. I can't help but ask the question, these sudden appointments of coal people to coal oversight boards seem to be in a position to help his personal business. And so I maybe the public doesn't get it. Maybe I'm out here on a ship all my own, but I've been bringing this up for the last week or so, and I will continue to do so. But I appreciate your text on that at 304-214-1600. Now, I want to shift gears over to some conversation this morning here on the national scene.
Here's some of the news from the nation's capital you'll be talking about today. This is the DC Digest on the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
Our national correspondent, as always, Tom Squidieri, and he's here with us once again. Good morning, Tom.
Hey, good morning. We're pretty close to a bipartisan deal on infrastructure, Howard. How about that?
That's good news. I mean, it is good news. They're going to vote on it today, right?
That's right. They're supposed to vote on it today. I always like to couch it in reality because things could happen. Delay it.
What you guessing? You guess it's going to pass?
I do. I think it's going to pass. I think there's strong Republican support for it, for the measure. It really is bipartisan. I saw one of these, some of these comments by sides that are critical, mostly progressive Democrats, and then someone reminded me of the old phrase, don't let the pursuit of the perfect damage the good or the very good, or something like that. And that's generally true of the art of compromise. And that's a pretty good step forward. there's always going to be things that are out of a bill that a lot of people wish would be in a bill. There's always going to be money needed for other projects. The state of our infrastructure is so dilapidated because of the lack of attention over the last 2 decades that, that it's a big, big, big undertaking. So we'll see. It's always good news for a bipartisan measure to pass.
And Senator Manchin has to feel pretty good about it because he's been saying we've got to find ways to get bipartisan votes. And he'll be able to point to this and say, you see, it can be done. Now, I would suggest that infrastructure is something that everybody cares about. We all care about roads and bridges and broadband and sewer lines and those kinds of things. So it's a little easier to get a bipartisan deal on this. But it is a bipartisan deal. And the numbers I'm seeing look like it'll be a significant number of Republicans who will support it. More than enough to go over a filibuster, but we'll get that number, I think, but even more. So I guess it's good news.
Well, I think you're absolutely correct, Howard. You're absolutely correct about infrastructure being as non-political as anything can be. And it is political, of course, because, you're looking for money for your state or your district, and that's critical. That's politics, but that's, again, part of the horse trading compromise. But it's not as if it's a social red button issue where they're seeking bipartisanship, and that's going to be a whole different attempt if they even do so. But look, this has to be done for the country. The infrastructure needs repairs, and we also have to sort of protect the sort of critical infrastructure of the internet, that type of infrastructure, which is now part of our infrastructure. So again, and I won't beat the dead horse, but if it passes today, which we both expect it to do, it's a good moment.
Of course, then they go to infrastructure bill number 2. I don't know what they're calling it, but the next plan that will include a little bit more infrastructure, but then has some of that, what can we call it, Tom? Soft infrastructure, child care, elder care, some of those kind of programs that aren't exactly hammer and nail, concrete and asphalt programs. But that's likely to get passed maybe by reconciliation, I think. Is that right?
That's right. That's not going to have that sort of broad support that you and I were just discussing. For the very reasons it's not a nuts and bolts thing. I always felt that President Obama should have pushed infrastructure bill first before health care. Not that health care is not and was not important, for the very reasons you articulated. It would have been difficult for a lot of Republican senators to vote against it or to stall it. Now, of course, the Senate barely had a Democratic majority his first 2 years as well. But, with President Biden succeeding in this, I'm assuming he does, it does help the atmosphere a little bit. Senators will go home for some time in August this month, and constituents can say, they can brag about the infrastructure bill. Constituents can see, as you say, down the road, actual physical improvements. Government is doing something for us. That's all good. And how that has an impact on President Biden's other issues, other agenda items, we'll see. Senator Manchin was, a key player or a key cog, depending on how you look at it, as was the senator from Arizona, a Democratic senator, and others. And so, maybe the party has found, the Democrats have found some Republicans, again, they could work with in these committees, sort of ad hoc committees, to tackle some of the issues that both parties share.
Tom, let me shift, and so we'll see how that goes today. Infrastructure bipartisan bill, they call it the BIF, bipartisan infrastructure bill, will probably pass today and pass with a nice margin of Republicans. Then we go off to the Democrat plan. We'll see how that works out. Let me shift gears to the military for a minute.
Okay.
Military members are going to be required to get vaccinated against COVID-19, I guess. How's that sitting with members of the military?
Well, it's not going to sit well with those who don't want to get vaccinated. Here's the deal. The military has been increasingly concerned about COVID in some of its areas. The troops are deployed all over the globe, and the Delta and the Lambda variants come and go in different parts of the world, and you can't just sort of isolate the troops from COVID. Now, the Air Force has a pretty high voluntary vaccination rate. The Marine Corps is very low, so it averages out to about 70% of the force has at least one vaccination, if not two. That's not bad, but that's not really, that great. You want to have it a lot higher. So Secretary Austin has studied it, and President Biden has indicated that he agrees with the idea that troops should be vaccinated. Look, Howard, there are at least 17 vaccinations troops get now when you go into the service for these various reasons. And if the FDA does not approve one or both of the vaccines by the end of September, Secretary Austin will ask President Biden to issue a waiver, because this is an emergency use vaccine, and thus they can't be ordered. Soldiers can't be ordered to take it because it's an experimental one. But the president can waive that in the case of the armed services, because it's national security purposes. So troops, yesterday at the Pentagon we were told that various service branches have until mid-September to come up with a plan to implement the vaccination program, not to begin vaccination programs, but that, probably by the end of September, the program would get underway whether or not the FDA approves one or more of the vaccines or not. In other words, it either gets FDA approval or the president will issue a waiver and the vaccinations will begin.
And I think, is it Pfizer that says they're getting very close to being able to apply for and hopefully get official approval, not just experimental approval, but I think it's Pfizer who says they're maybe within weeks of getting that.
Yeah, it is Pfizer, and the anticipation is, that the Pfizer vaccine will be approved before mid-September. I said September 15th, but Pentagon says mid-September. And that'll be one of them. And then, whether Moderna or the others get similar approval, remains to be seen. And the Pentagon, John Kirby, the spokesperson, was asked yesterday if the Pentagon has the supply ready to go, doses, and they basically do. So, they always have some in reserve, and so they're ready to go. They'll certainly be ready to go mid-September.
It's a big battle in the non-military world, and I suppose there will still be some protests inside the military as well. But the big question a lot of people are asking is, where should vaccines be made mandatory? Should schools make them mandatory? Should businesses make them mandatory for entry and so on? And I guess the military is like any other aspect of our society. The debates will go on. Difference is there's a chain of command there.
Yeah, here's one key difference, Howard, that is worth noting in the sort of myriad of, as you just said, the myriad of differences. The military, in other words, the uniformed personnel can be ordered to take the vaccine. Civilian personnel cannot be, if it's, the waiver would only apply to those in uniform. It would not apply to the civilian workforce as part of the Department of Defense. Now, again, once the vaccine is approved, if approved, it changes the dynamics of that.
Let's talk about, actually I want to talk about two A stories.
Okay.
I want to talk about, first, one of them is Andrew Cuomo. We'll get to that in a minute. But let's talk about Afghanistan, which we talk about almost every week. Taliban continues to take more territory in Afghanistan. The pullout is getting closer and closer to be complete. Talk about that for us.
Sure. I mean, it seems like every day now the Taliban is taking a provincial regional capital. They're threatening a big city, Mazar-e-Sharif, which is up north near the border of Uzbekistan. Major city. And the numbers on the paper, this kind of shows you what paper numbers really don't mean. You have 300,000 plus Afghan military and police, basically against 50 to 100,000 Taliban and their allies. If you throw in the warlords on the side of the Kabul, that's another 50,000. And they have the Air Force and they have training. But as the Pentagon officials are saying, it takes willpower. They're not essentially saying that the Afghans don't have it, but they are. And so the Taliban has momentum. They took a city called Kunduz, which is a big city, 200 miles from Kabul, which is not that far, really. And they were posing for selfies on their pages. You can see them. And they're feeling confident that they don't have to cut a peace deal and they're going to win a war. Now, that still remains to be seen. Despite momentum for them, it's going to be harder and harder to take some of these cities. The Afghan commandos, Howard, which are a good fighting force, are just overstretched. They they hopscotch from one crisis to another, but it's hard for them to plug all the holes, so to speak. It just Afghanistan is a mess, and no one, the Pentagon doesn't want to say it, but they indicated that they're pulling out. The U.S. is pulling out by the end of this month, as is NATO, and the Afghans will have to fend for themselves. Now, the Afghan Air Force, which is formidable, nevertheless needs support from contractors to keep the planes running, and those contractors are also left the country. They've also left the country. So, it's not going to be a pretty sight. Whether it becomes a stalemate between the two sides remains to be seen, and that might be the best shot is right now. If you're looking at the momentum of the Taliban, you would hope if you're pulling for a Kabul government to sort of stabilize things, to have a stalemate, and then both sides would have to work out a solution. Right now, Taliban is like the hot knife through butter. That's not necessarily going to be the case throughout the whole country, I don't believe. But nevertheless, if Afghan troops continue not to fight, then they'll take more territory.
And we have pretty well said it's no longer our fight. You guys have to handle it yourself.
We have, and there's, some of the senators were given a briefing yesterday, and they basically said a couple things. And this is bipartisan briefing that the situation is very grim, okay, and that the Afghans should be taking care of this. We've spent 20 years in training, billions of dollars to train them, and the government over there is not unified. There's all sorts of reports coming out, and I don't like to always talk about them because it's hard to verify them. But there's fighting within the government. There's always been fighting within the Afghan government. It's always been a difficult country to rule nationally because of the mountains and the tribes. The historical reasons why Afghanistan has always been a conundrum for many politicians from afar and within still exists today. It's not disparaging the Afghans. It's just the way the country is formed. It's like our country is divided as well in different ways. It's hard to run, not quite like Afghanistan, but you have these historical and cultural differences within Afghanistan. So the Taliban, is not a big military force, but they're motivated, and the Afghan force doesn't seem to be.
One last issue for you. Let's go to politics for a minute. Give me your political take. Andrew Cuomo, what happens here?
Well, I'll give you the take that my friends who are more knowledgeable on New York politics have shared with me, is that it's clear that he's not going to survive politically at this point. They think that the betting seems to be a little bit more that he's going to try to stay in office until they get close to acting on impeachment, and then he'll resign. There was once a thought that if it wasn't too bad, this is before the report came out, he would resign and then seek re-election sort of at the ballot box. That idea has gone away.
It is interesting. I don't want to say how the mighty have fallen. I don't like that phrase, but a year ago, Cuomo's name was being bandied about as a potential presidential candidate.
Well, certainly he was being bandied about as a vice president to run with Biden at one point, and there was talk about, how can Biden was promised putting, a woman on the ticket, and that was, I remember that talk as well. Yep, it's a year ago. Yeah.
And now his career probably is over. One never knows in politics. You can always have that weird second act after a period of time, but I think he's on.
Howard, I know we're out of time, but here's a quick note. Governor Northam of Virginia had a problem with a blackface issue in his college yearbook, and there was a call for him to resign, and he didn't. And part of the reason he was able to survive was he had a reservoir of goodwill. He was generally well liked by people, in Virginia and in other politicians. Cuomo doesn't have that reservoir at all. He's disliked, and his reputation of a bully has always been out there. So and I don't want to compare what Governor Northam's issue was with obviously Cuomo's, which is a lot more severe. But the idea is that for politicians to get through these things, they have to have a reservoir of goodwill. They have to have and Cuomo doesn't even have that.
Well, and Cuomo has more than an allegation. He has multiple allegations. I think the AG's report was 162 pages long. 11 women, I forget the number, but multiple women making allegations, including a state trooper. His top aide resigned this week without referencing the scandal, but still resigned. You have to assume that's, in conjunction with this. they're just flocking away from him. Some people compared this to me to the Al Franken story, and I don't think it's the same thing at all. Al Franken was railroaded, in my opinion. Al Franken wasn't given any time for an investigation, wasn't given any time for an explanation, really, any time for people to think it through. And there were no multiple reports. It was just a couple of claims, and Franken just was driven out of office, sadly by his own party. I think Cuomo's that's a big difference with Cuomo.
Yes, I agree.
All right, Tom, always good talking to you, my friend. We'll do it again next Tuesday.
Okay, thanks, Howard. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Tom Scudieri, national correspondent for us here on the Watchdog Morning Show. Every Tuesday we kind of kick around a handful of the big stories, and one of the nice things we do with Tom is we can get off of, we did get into some of the key national D.C. political stuff, but Tom is a military reporter these days and works out of the Pentagon, so we tend to talk about some of the Pentagon stories, giving you a little different perspective on that. It's 8:32, 28 till the hour, 74 degrees and raining at the airport. We're going to look for some rain throughout the day, some severe thunderstorms possible this afternoon. Hot, muggy day today. Just live with it. And just be prepared to live with it. In the next half hour, man, we are driving fast. It's amazing. During the pandemic, you'd think we would have slowed down. We didn't. We started driving fast. We haven't stopped. Got some stats I want to share with you coming up next here on the Watchdog Morning Show. And in the 9 o'clock hour, we will talk with a CBS Tech reporter who is going to share with us some tech thoughts about back to school, high-tech things that your kids may be wanting, some apps that may help them do their work better, and how to keep your kids' digital life a little more safe and secure. That's all coming up in the 9 o'clock hour of the show. Hey, this is the Watchdog Morning Show here on WKKX and WVLY FM and AM.
The WTRF Channel 7 News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Now it's time for your local news headlines from
Metro News Sports. Good morning. I'm Kyle Wiggs. Spring Valley High School graduate Doug Nestor.
Lines. Today marks the end of
well. Like, they basically took me in with open arms, and the strength staff is a little bit more, you got to prove it to us that you can be here, which is great, and I love that. But all the players were very welcoming and just very, open.
Nestor says there is a little circle around that September 18th game when the Mountaineers host Virginia Tech. Longtime Mountaineer assistant coach Steve Dunlap played under the late Bobby Bowden in the early 1970s, and Dunlap says Bowden was a true role model for all who played and worked for him.
He was a coach's coach, and he's a religious man. He was a great mentor for any young coach, especially me. That's the way you live your life and the way you do things.
Bowden, a member of the WVU Sports and the College Football Hall of Fame, passed away over the weekend at the age of 91. The new prep athletic season is underway. There were golf matches around the state yesterday, including the Parkersburg Invitational, won by Cabell Midland. 117 golfers took part in that. You're listening to Metro News, the voice of West Virginia. NBA Summer League in Las Vegas. Miles McBride of the Knicks had 14 points and 25 minutes off the bench. He hit a couple of threes, added 3 rebounds. The Knicks beat Indiana by a final of 94-86 in that Summer League. Baseball, Cleveland over the Reds, 9-3. Jose Ramirez led Cleveland with a 2-run home run and an RBI triple. Pirates host the Cardinals tonight following a day off. From the Metro News Sports Desk, I'm Kyle Wiggs.
Hi, it's Hoppy Kirchville. Join me weekdays at 10 o'clock for Talkline. We'll talk about the big stories affecting us in West Virginia, top political figures, sports personalities, sometimes just plain folks offering their opinions on what's happening today. 10 till noon, right after the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
Who wants craft beer? Saturday, August 21st, the Mountaineer Brewfest is back at Wheeling Heritage Port, showcasing craft beers from West Virginia's finest brewers. With great food, live entertainment, and many more craft beer selections in our beer garden, it's a wild and wonderful time, and you don't want to miss out. Proceeds benefit a Special Wish Foundation. Get your tickets now at MountaineerBrewfest.com. Brought to you by Wheeling Island Hotel, Casino, Racetrack, and the UPS Store.
Over the years, you've brought opioids into your home. They helped when you were in pain, and you held on to them just in case. But holding on to opioids puts your family at risk. Learn more at www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
A serious injury from an accident can be just the start of your worries. What if you cannot return to work? How do you take care of your family if you're disabled? At Gelner Law Offices, we represent seriously injured people and understand their problem. We know how to get you fair compensation. We will work hard to make sure you get the money you deserve for your losses. Don't go it alone. If you're hurt in an accident, call us at 304-242-2900 or visit us at gelnerlaw.com.
We'd like to help.
Toyota's national sales event is happening now with savings and reliability you can count on. So check out an adventure-ready gas model RAV4 with up to $750 cash back, or a stylish 22 Corolla with up to $500 cash back, or go with a sporty Camry with up to $1,000 cash back. Visit buyatoyota.com and find a dealer near you. You can take cash back or apply to a down payment. Offers may vary for hybrid models. See your dealer for details. Offers end September 7th. Toyota, let's go places.
This guy knows so much about sports. They based the Sports Almanac from Back to the Future off of his dream journal. He's Bill DeFabio, weekdays noon to 2, on the Valley's only network dedicated to live and local talk radio, The Watchdog. If you missed us the first time, keep going. You'll find us just down the dial. AM 1600 and 1370, FM 98.1 and 97.7. We are The Watchdog.
You can watch a video cast of our show every morning on Facebook Live or on our website. Plus, check archives of all of our videos on the Watchdog YouTube channel. The Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues.
Hang on just a second. Nancy? Nancy? Who were you talking to out on the deck? You were talking to the birds. She was talking to the birds, Biff.
Nothing wrong with that.
I heard some talk on the deck, and she's going, "Hi there, how are you?" "Oh, it's okay. You're safe. Don't worry about it." And I'm thinking, who is there? Is Teddy here already? Is he out on the deck? Nope. She was talking to the birds.
You gotta make peace. Be nice with the birds, because if not, some of those ones, if you're not careful, when you are sitting out on the deck or wherever, they'll come after you.
Yeah.
So she's trying to get ahead of it, is what she's trying to do.
Or dive bomb you from above sometimes, you know?
Yes.
You know, I've had that happen too. What's this on my head? Oh, no.
She's trying to avoid all that, so it might not be as bad as you think.
I don't know. I heard I think she thought they were talking back to her because it was kind of like a conversation with the birds. What'd she call them? Love doves? I think they're just pigeons. At any rate. All right, 74 degrees at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport now. About half an hour ago, the airport reporting thunderstorms. Now they say clear skies, so some storms must have rolled through at the airport, and now they've gone. 74 degrees, clear skies at the airport, or clearing skies. 75, and the skies are getting more overcast here at my home studios. Hearing thunder in the background as well, so it looks like rain could be not far away. 75 here at the home studios and at the Robinson Auto Group Studios downtown Wheeling. In the heart of the Ohio Valley, we are looking for scattered showers this morning. More likely to see storms in the afternoon, but who knows? They'll be scattered, so it won't be everywhere, different places, different spots. It's going to be a very warm, very muggy day, going to be pushing 90, officially calling it 87 degrees, so be prepared for another. It's just going to be one of those hot, muggy, tropical kind of days. And although Zach was suggesting, go to the pool and pretend like you're at the beach in the Bahamas, I don't think it's going to be that kind of tropical day. It's going to be the kind of tropical day where you keep looking out the window and hope that no tornadoes come or something. Not that we're having tornadoes. I don't mean that. I'm just saying, there are two kinds of tropical weather. There's the beautiful, balmy blue sky. Give me a drink with an umbrella in tropical weather. And then there's the, doesn't look good out there kind of tropical weather. I think we have to worry about the it doesn't look good out there kind of tropical weather. Anyway, that's what we have weather-wise for you this morning. 17 till the hour here on the Watchdog Morning Show. Coming up today at 10:06 statewide talk line, my good friend Mr. Kercheval is going to be talking to the texter who said, nobody's talking about this coal story except you. Actually, Hoppy today will be talking with Roger Hanshaw, the Speaker of the House, about the reactivation of the Public Energy Authority. Now, Roger Hanshaw thinks it is a good thing, and he'll talk to Hoppy about that. McElhenney will be in to talk about the Public Energy Authority as well and what it might mean. Brad spent the day yesterday trying to research and understand it. When I talked to Brad yesterday morning, he kind of indicated he was trying to get his head around what exactly this is all about. So, assuming he's got his head around it today, he'll talk about that with Hoppy coming up today on Statewide Talkline. Also today on Talkline, Fred Albert, who's the president of the AFT in West Virginia, will talk about whether teachers and staff ought to get vaccinated. And General Jim Hoyer, the head of the State Interagency Task Force on COVID, will be in to talk about vaccination. So that's all coming up today, 10:06 until noon. It's the Statewide Talkline with Mr. Kercheval. Always one of our more entertaining and popular shows here on the Watchdog, followed by yet another entertaining and popular show, the Bill DeFabio Variety Show. Bill is in after the 12 o'clock news from WTRF-TV, Channel 7 News, live from the anchor desk at noon. So if you're out and about during the day, get your news midday from us via Channel 7, live and direct at noon. Then Bill's got the Variety Show. Any sense of what's up today, Biff?
I would imagine Bill will talk about, and it was a sad day yesterday for Penguins
I know where you're
fans.
going. I want to talk about that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Mike Lang, after 46 years, decided to retire or hang up the microphone or however you want to say it yesterday. So I think Bill will have a little bit on that today and all the sayings and everything with Mike Lang, and he I don't think he was doing too good over the last couple of years. And if you noticed on certain trips, like when Pittsburgh would head out west or when they would play the Canadian teams out west, he would stay behind and
he would be there.
Yeah, he'd mostly do home games, and then if any of the road trips were kind of short enough to where he thought that he would be good enough to go, he would do that. But yeah, so I'm sure Bill will have some talk on the career of Mike Lang.
Mike Lang, I hate to say it, one of the few remaining, what's the word I'm looking for, characters doing play-by-play, really anywhere, Biff. I mean, I grew up in an era where, whether it's, baseball, I grew up with Bob Prince, the gunner, right? And, I mean, full of clever sayings, absolutely a homer, no argument, no questions about it, no attempt to be objective. And that was sort of that was the way of everybody. All the different play-by-play announcers were like that. And then slowly but surely they became more professional. We cannot be a homer even though we're hired by the home team. We must be objective. And we can't talk about Chicken on the Hill or Elvis has left the building or the green weenie. We can't do that. We have to be more professional. I'm really going to see Lang. I'm really going to be sad to see Lang leave. I mean, he was just he was good at what he did, but he was a character, brought personality to it.
And the way the story that we heard yesterday, the way that they were saying it, I thought for a second, I was helping Dad yesterday. We were working, and they came on and they started, and I looked at that. I said, "Oh my God, Mike Lang died," because the way they had started it and everything that they were going into, they said it started like after 46 years of broadcasting or whatever. And I'm thinking, oh my God, Mike Lang just passed away. And no, they came on and said, that he was retiring and everything. But I thought, oh my goodness, could you imagine? But it's going to be different without him for sure.
What's 46 years in the broadcast booth?
Yeah, I think 46 years.
I mean, and as you say, he's been sort of cutting down a little bit in recent years. Health issues, I'm assuming, are at the root of that, age and health issues. But boy, he's still, when he gets energized, Biff, and sort of starts to shout, and you can't help but get into the game and get into him. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I know. He made any game, really. It didn't matter if the Penguins were home or away. He made them fun to listen to.
And I think we miss some of that, Again, I'm looking at a story, Pittsburgh Tribune Review about Lang, and they have a poll on their page. Who do you consider the most iconic broadcaster in Pittsburgh sports history? Mike Lang, Bob Prince, or Myron Cope? And I don't know how I'd pick one of those three, to be honest with you. But what do they all have in common? They made it fun. Well, they made it fun, right?
I would think, and you would have to go one or two. I would say it's between Lang and Myron Cope. One and two. Either you could put them in either order.
Never had a chance to meet Mike Lang. I met Myron Cope just once at a Pittsburgh Steelers training camp that I was at. Bumped into Bob Prince at the stadium, actually a couple of times, at one time in particular. I was up there as a member of the media, and then went back, and they were having a little, media room, had some food in it, and so, hey, here's a big surprise. I went back to get some food. And here's this guy just sitting over there. This is after he'd been on the air. He was off the air now. Just sitting over there eating, and it was Bob Prince was the gunner, and I went over and talked to him. What a great guy. Pittsburgh bred a lot of these great character announcers. But Lang is, I think, the last, right? I mean, no offense to any of the current announcers. I don't mean to be, but it's just not the same as it used to be.
And then I think if and when Greg Brown ever decides to go, I think he would be the last one, at least that I can think of.
Yeah, he's a good guy, but honestly I can't put him in the category of a Cope or a Prince or a Lang. No,
I can't. Not in that category, but when you think of Pittsburgh guys and games and sports, I think, at least for me, thinking baseball, he's the one that immediately came to mind.
Yeah, and of the non-characters, okay, I'm not talking about the people like Prince and Cope. Lanny Fratteri I always liked as well. But none of them were what Prince and Cope were, Chicken on the Hill and the green weenie and the terrible towel. Teddy has a terrible towel hanging in his in his bedroom here. I got a terrible towel one year, and so we have it hanging on his wall in there. It's kind of neat. Steve from St. C may have some thoughts on this. Or he may just have called to yell at me. I don't know. You can never tell with Steve.
Hello.
Good morning, Steve.
Well, I got to tell you, you speak of homers. How about that guy who calls your Wheeling Central football games? That guy's a homer. My goodness. You thought Myron Cope and Lang were bad.
I do remember one time when that guy stood up and almost knocked the table over and screamed.
He just peed his pants.
That's right.
I think Biff may have saved that. Oh goodness!
I do remember that. I guess when I talk about characters, I suppose we should put that in there. Yeah.
Howard, I may have been at that game when it happened. I may have gotten a hug from that announcer.
Oh, I gotta pee my pants.
I still apologize for that. So. But boy, I got to tell you, you talk about some legendary broadcasters. Pittsburgh's Adam. You just went through a list of those three. My God, three of the best in the business. I mean, and like I know Myron Cope wasn't the play-by-play guy, but boy, for a Steeler fan, boy, you had to love that guy.
Oh, he was just, and that squeaky weird voice that he never should have been on the radio or television at all. But somebody saw something in him and said, well, this will be fun, and put him on.
And I love that. I love the homerism, and I really do. I like hearing that. When you don't have to call it down the middle. If you're calling it for the Steelers, the Pirates, or Penguins, you have every right in the world to root on that team. You don't have to put down the other team, but my goodness, you have a chance to root for your team.
Yeah, listen, I completely agree with you. I don't understand why. Now, if you're the CBS announcer on CBS,
agree.
Then you call it down the middle. But I don't understand why, if you are the announcer for the Pirates or the Penguins or the Steelers or whatever, why should you not be wanting your team to win? Now, you're right. You don't put the other team down, and you don't. You have to still you still have to call the game fairly.
Yeah.
But
put some emotion
why not be a
into
homer?
it. Let the people know that you have some feelings too. And one thing I have feelings for is Wheeling Central sports. I do, and I try to put it into it. And so, but really,
waving the green weenie or waving the terrible towel were signs of rallying signs in Pittsburgh in the day, right? It means we want to win. We want to win. What's wrong with that? And the announcers sometimes, Prince, Cope, got every once in a while a little chastised, criticized from the professionals who said, "Oh no, you can't get behind an effort to, no, why can't you do that?"
Yeah. Think about the.
Probably best not to pee on the. Probably still best not to pee on the air. I'm just saying, but short of that.
The catchphrases that came out of those guys, like the chicken on the hill and yoy and double yoy. Scratch my back with a hacksaw. Those are catchphrases that like Yinzers, Pittsburgh people still use today. That's part of their everyday. You can't talk to a Pittsburgh person without them using that kind of language to you.
Right.
Yeah.
And to this day, and it's a long time since Myron Cope was around, I will still sometimes, Biff will hear me, I still sometimes say yoy and double yoy. It just, you grew up with that, you live with that, you use it still.
True. Hey, Howard, we are just over a week away from our first high school football game on the Watchdog.
That is pretty exciting.
It is going to be August 20th. It is Martins Ferry at Shadyside. And I got to tell you, I cannot wait. It's going to be fun. And I know there's COVID issues out there right now, but my goodness, I hope we get this season off and running. And we got like 22 games planned for the season right now. Our first show will be the 20th, that Friday afternoon when we do the walkthrough, and the guys are ready and they're ready to go. Still, we have our little text thread going on, so pretty pumped up for it. But just want people to know, our August 20th first game, Martins Ferry at Shadyside.
It's coming, folks, and Lord, please give us none of the problems we had last year, please.
You don't want me crying again come the first week of November. Biff and I crying our tears that overflow in the Ohio River.
Yeah, let's just hope that all goes well. And these numbers scare me, but I think we'll be okay.
I hope so, buddy. All right, guys. Hey, enjoy your day.
All right, appreciate it. Yeah, sometimes you have local guys that become a bit of a character too.
Oh,
I do remember that. Well, I'm trying to remember what happened. It was like a last minute touchdown or something, Biff. When he jumped up and I think he knocked the table over, and he had to apologize to everybody else in the
he did it twice.
In the broadcast booth too.
He did it twice. He did it once last year, at, 2 years ago. Tulsa was the second time it happened. That was the last second play that Central scored on to win that game in the opener at Tulsa. But the first one, and it was actually one of the most exciting playoff games I think I've been a part of, was Wheeling Central when they played Bishop Donahue, and Wheeling Central on a late touchdown pass that ended up giving them the lead after Bishop Donahue had Wheeling Central was going for a field goal, and they had called timeout. Bishop Donahue did. Central wouldn't have made the field goal anyway, so they came back out after the timeout and ran a play and ended up scoring on that play that gave them the win. And that was...
I remember that. I remember listening on the air. It's like, oh my God.
I was up there with him when it happened. I remember it still as plain as could be.
Did you say he hugged you after he peed his pants?
Yes.
Wasn't it kind of a warm hug?
It was a cold evening.
August 20th, we get underway with the Friday afternoon walkthrough. One of the best shows we do all year long. It's always a ton of fun. The guys get together and just talk about the upcoming week. And then after the first week, it's the upcoming week and previewing the last week and making predictions. And it's just so much fun. The afternoon walkthrough from 3 to 5, beginning on August 20th. And then our first game of the season will be that night. And it's just... I'm excited as all get out that King football is back, and please, Lord, please let it stay that way all season long. Just about 9 o'clock here on the Watchdog Morning Show. Something else that's coming back is school. We're going to talk about back to school coming up next hour with a CBS Tech guy who's going to talk to us about high-tech gadgets and apps and protecting your kids' technology going back to school and so on. That's straight ahead here on the Watchdog Morning Show. It's 9 o'clock, and ABC covers the world right now.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
All right, Biffy, Albert Lawrence, I hope, will be calling in at 9:10. It's a 10-minute interview, Radio Row. But as I said earlier, I don't know if you heard me or not, I actually lost my notes on this and can't find them. So I've got a couple scrawled notes here from before. I hope I've got this right. Should be Albert Lawrence. If it's not Albert Lawrence, I'm screwed. But at least if it's not Albert Lawrence, tell me who it is, and I'll try and figure something out. All right, but he'll be in 9:10. It is Radio Row, so we'll have him out by 9:20. Thank you.